Hello. In this video, I'd like to compare the difference between the Pulsar X3 V3 Large and also the X3. I'm definitely excited for this video. As someone with 19 by 5 by 11 cm hands, I struggle to find mice that are large but also light enough to prolong wrist fatigue. First comment for the X3 V3 is that the mouse is very similar in shape to the Zowie EC1, which is the largest out of all of Zowie's Ergo mouse selection. Pulsar did change a couple of aspects for this mouse, as it raised the height taller, and shortening its scooch in the front and the back. The X3 V3 uses the 3395 sensor and the Nordic MCU, Pulsar's 15mm dustproof scrolling encoder, and the ratio optical switches. The X3 V3 has changed from the X3 V2 by having the holes filled whilst maintaining the 59-gram weight. When disassembled, the V2 featured a lot of thick, sturdy plastic, which was why holes were needed to maintain a low weight. In the V3, the trade-off is thinner thickness of the body plastic, a full top shell, and split triggers, rather than having the triggers as one complete piece. My perspective of having the trigger as one complete piece is that it affects the rigidity of the main triggers. The spring-like tension of the whole piece makes the V2 definitely feel premium, much like Zowie mice, but prolonged uses might cause fatigue in the fingers. Since the V3 uses ratio opticals, which were switches that require a decent amount of force to actuate to begin with, the split triggers would remove the spring-like tension, allowing for more spammability. Much like the X2 V2 and its brethren, the X3 V3 features a unique scroll wheel mechanism that uses ball bearings for a smoother and more consistent roll, along with a lever arm to actuate the middle mouse switch. This is absolutely an awesome design. With an overall shell that's thinner, Pulsar uses a common method to help prevent the shell from flexing by having a secondary PCB for the side switches, which also doubles as a body frame. These method of PCB being part of the structural integrity can be seen from lightweight mice designed around 2019, like the glorious Model O era. Mice made by companies like Logitech and Razer back in 2016-2018 uses full-body plastic internals, resulting in heavy, albeit premium feeling mice. Those who would want a very good performing mouse with similar shape of the EC1, I would highly recommend the X3 V3 or the X3 V4. Now on to the X3. This mouse is meant to satisfy a part of the gaming mouse community that yearns for a G703 Superlight. I dare say Pulsar accomplished just that, albeit with the main triggers lowered. The hardware is impressive, using Pulsar's XS1 sensor, which is a rebranded 3950, Nordic MCU, KL optical switches, and Pulsar's dustproof blue scrolling encoder. The shape is akin to holding a much lighter G603 due to the plastic sides. The G703 rubber sides provide a soft touch comfort that, in my opinion, makes it what it is. The unfortunate trade-off for the G703 is the constant usage rubs the rubber away from the body. I feel like there's a market for mice with rubber grips. Companies would need to make the grips replaceable and not just rubber injected. However, even with me saying that, replaceable rubber grips poses another set of manufacturing, business, and also sales issue, which is a conversation for another time. The base plate has plastic covers to prevent dirt and debris from entering the mouse. Frankly, with the way that the mouse is constructed, I think these extra base stickers are not really needed. However, they do make a very good design choice, which allows for extra branding information to be tacked onto the mouse. The position of the lettering and spacing looks neat and orderly. Unfortunately, while the mouse is very amazing to hold, there are flaws, which I'll get into later. Back to the X3 V3. When looking at the internal shell, you could tell Pulsar had matured much of the design and having polished during manufacturing. Internally, everything looks like one cohesive shell, no protruding lines or excess plastic. Comparing to the first iteration of the X2, you can tell that Pulsar had drastically improved their design and also molding. The X3 V3 was released almost a year and a half ago. The X3 was recently released only a couple of months back. Now on to the bad news. From the outside of the X3 looks amazing, a perfect iteration of the well-beloved G703 mouse for gaming enthusiasts. Now when taken apart and looked at closely, that's when the mouse feels incomplete. Glaring flaw starts to flow in. Upon closer inspection, there are many unpolished areas observed from the internal structures, an issue from the outside. The lines of separation don't always look uniform. Space uniformity is what separates a dollar cheap mouse that uses some regular office sensor to a genuinely high quality product. Lines of separation should have the same distance between one end to the other. When I received my patch, the left trigger leans a little too much to the right, closing the gap between the center divider piece compared to the right trigger. From an aesthetics point of view, this is highly glaring and makes people feel like this was just thrown all together and designed with limited time, attention, and care. Fortunately, this is highly fixable, which leads to another problem. Instead of rubber spacers that were installed like the X-Lite V3, the newer rendition of the X2 V2 line, Pulsar decided to use snippets of foam for the X3. I think I know the reason why. The X2 V2 and also the X2H had issues with their main paddles creating a sticky sensation. This was due to the neoprene rubber inserts that was underneath the front paddle guides. When looking closer to the main shell, plastic burrs can be observed in obvious places. These aren't injection mold remnants like sprues or runners, but these are clearly design issues. It feels like there isn't enough precise measurement of the models itself, or there wasn't much care that goes in smoothing everything out in the model. Either that or Pulsar went to another manufacturer, and the manufacturer did a bad job. Those who have tinkered with STL files, and also AutoCAD models could probably attest. When having two models joined together, there are clear overlaps. Without proper correction, when printing, or in Pulsar's case, creating the mold, lines on multiple face sides can be seen. But when changing manufacturer costs a lot of time, cooperation, and also money, I suspect it's probably the first reason. There are also a couple of questionable design choices for the trigger guides, such as two minuscule pieces on the sides of the guides. What are the point of these? Just make the guides larger or rigid. These are actually just tiny spacers, which would probably rub off through prolonged uses. Another thing I dislike about Pulsar is that a lot of their initial releases would have bandaged fixes rather than going back to the drawing board and redesigning solutions. An example would be the side buttons. Tape spacers can be seen, which is rather irritating since Pulsar could have made their designers correct the length of the plungers for proper actuation and not relying on tape and additional plastic pieces to fix the mistakes. A brief separation of topic. Due to the X3 using Pulsar's newer sensor, Pulsar used a completely new software for upcoming mice release that features the XS1 sensor. The new software is a lot more cleaner, animated, and polished compared to the V3 and their other previous 3395 sensor mice. The 3950 sensor features even lower LOD settings now, from 2mm all the way down to 0.7mm. Pretty awesome stuff. Despite not being an Ergo mouse user, I have no performance issues with these two mice. No disconnection, no tangible motion delay, and I've been playing with these two mice for the past 2 months. Whether for palming, for claw gripping, or in some cases even fingertipping, these were perfect for my hands. In conclusion, from regular gamers to hardcore FPS enthusiasts who are looking for alternatives to the classic EC1 and G703 shape, both of these are absolutely amazing. Just beware of the X3 having some sort of a quality control issue. Although in the upcoming months, Pulsar will be further polishing their X-Lite V4, which is fitted with more modern hardware, the V3 is still very viable, considering that it uses the 3395 and also the Nordic MCU. Perhaps in the future batches, the X3 would be further polished and not suffer from minor manufacturing defects like the issues I've listed previously. Well, that's all I have to say about these two amazing mice. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.